part of my strategy was to eliminate my communication with the mafia as well. And they would actually respect that further. Let me give you an example. They would go, Brian, you are invited with us to go to the Jersey Shore. Why aren't you joining us? And I would always respectfully decline because I felt like I'm never going to allow them to see this personal side of Brian.
So you kept it separate.
I want it completely separate. And then when you get into that, it opens up playful talk, laughing, communicating, joking. And if you really look at my crew, I didn't laugh or joke with anybody.
Okay, guys, we got Brian David Suder here today. Crazy past. Now it's a legit entrepreneur, but we're going to dive into everything. First of all, thanks for coming on, man.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah. A lot of the guys probably don't know you since you're first sharing your story now. So I think we should do a quick little summary of how you got here.
Sure. So back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I was an ecstasy drug lord, specifically in the area of Baltimore. It kind of fell upon me. Before that, I was really big into fitness, grew up from like a legal background in terms of my family. So my mother was a judge. My father was an attorney. My aunt was a federal prosecutor. Later on, I have a stepfather and a stepbrother that are cops, and an aunts that are attorneys as well. So I was very heavily involved in law enforcement, the legal world. In fact, I worked at my mom's law firm since I was a kid. Some things happened in my life while I was in college that had an effect, specifically my sister dying of cancer, family breaking up, me having the responsibility of paying for college. I did initially met them just kind of selling steroids. So it was actually a faction for the DeCalvicante family that located into Baltimore, knowing that the local Gambino faction of Baltimore was kind of dying out. They're getting older. So they were really big in the 30s and 40s and 50s. In fact, Nancy Pelosi's family was heavily involved in the Baltimore Gambino crime faction.
Really?
Yes, very much so. Her father. The men that took really kind of oversaw them at that point was the Magliano family. So you have Benny and Nick Magliano family, and their son is very much a detailed part of the story that we'll share today, Vincent Magliano. But ultimately, from a series of situations that happened, and my mom had a connection with the Trafficante family, which kind of further justified me working with them. I got approached multiple times by both the DeCalvicante family of North New Jersey and also the Gambino faction of Staten Island going in. And they came in doing everything from loan sharking to bookmaking was a big deal back then. And you had to call Costa Rica. And for me, they just entered this new drug at that point that ended up expanding substantially, and me implementing a series of policies, rules that expanded more than just the Italian mafia. I was working with the Persian mafia, you may not have known, doing business with the Velvet mafia, doing business with the Jewish mafia, doing business with the Greek mafia, and it's a lot of mafias there. Later on, working direct with the source, which was the Israeli mafia at that point. And I guess our story is going to show you how my methodology proved to work much better than I would say the Rometa from the mafia itself, because it showed that if you follow these principles, you wouldn't get caught. And that's exactly what this is about. My principles, the way I operated, we operated diligently, very militant-like, and we didn't get caught.
Yeah, we're going to dive into those principles. First, I just wanted to ask, because you just named a bunch of different mafias, what came to mind for me is, why do you think the Italian mafia in specific gets so much attention compared to the other ones?
Well, I wrote something called the Rometa 2.0, and one of the biggest issues I talk about is emotion is a liability. So they're very cartoonish. They're very big characters. They get emotional. So that makes great script writing. So you got a lot of jokes. You got a lot of violence. You got a lot of mistakes.
Right.
That hit the headlines. So that's why.
Yeah, and they were all over the spotlight, which I know you didn't like, right?
Which, I would use going into Rometa too. I would look at a lot of their mistakes, and as a result of that, just pattern recognition, I implemented my system based on their mistakes. Right.
Yeah, so let's dive into Rometa 2.0. So you felt like you learned some stuff there, but you wanted to kind of amplify it, right, and create your own system?
Well, what it was this. I took the position very seriously. So they approached me multiple times. I was in a really kind of tight spot. My father left the family right after my sister dies. If you know anything, that when a family has a sibling that dies, a child that dies, that it destroys the family.
Right.
It's just the dynamic changes. So my dad just kind of made his way over to the Eastern Shore of Maryland. My mom had a meltdown. I was living at home at that point because a lot of times I was basically a caretaker for my sister. She was dying of a cancer called neuroblastoma. So we expected her to live maybe a year. She lived for almost 5 years.
Wow.
So during that process, she died. It was a big thing. My mom just said, get out. My dad left. I had no money. And the mafia just happened to be calling me nonstop because I have a good relationship with them.
Yeah.
I had met them in around 1995. I was 19 years old. I bought a fake ID to go to bars with them. And I just built a trusting relationship. They knew I was big into fitness. They knew I was honest. So I'd come back every Friday with a big stack of cash. So I built a very good reputation, not only on how as a tough guy, I was also, very big into, organized street fights. We could get into that later, just something I got into with martial arts. But they kind of respected me and they thought that I would be a great face person because of my reputation, my knowledge. I just was very connected in the streets of Baltimore. I was very social. So they knew that I would do very good at it. So ultimately I took on the role and then I looked at it from a perspective of this is a serious role. So I come in at everything that mindset's everything. So I had to shift away from certain friends that I would see there would be a liability, away from just basic street fighting. Now, if I'm going to fight, it's going to be for business. Okay. So I took it at heart and I approached this as that one mistake could cost me what? My money at that point, once you start making it, my freedom or my life. And I wasn't about to lose any of that.
Right. So it sounds like you got in a lot of fights growing up.
I did. It was really just a reaction of me being a martial art star when I was younger. Just Taekwondo was just point sparring.
Yeah.
And very big in katas and even Nung Chun katas. But I just took it to a point. There's a lot of abuse I dealt with as a kid that I'm not going to really share. I share into the book that I'm writing. And abuse was horrific. And it was a way for me to vent my abuse. So I had a built-in anger. And it's probably the other reason why I also became a good person that the mafia would bring on, because if you looked in my eyes, you saw a lot of rage from the abuse. So you got a very intelligent person, well-spoken, educated, with a lot of rage that doesn't take anything from anyone. Probably the perfect specimen for them at that point.
Yeah.
And I'm not that person today. I smile now. Before you would never see me smile.
When did you feel like you had more control over your rage and your emotions?
Well, the best way to say this is weird. So before I worked with the DeCavalcante family, I found the most violent club I could in Baltimore that had a guaranteed fight. And if you're a fighter, the best way of dealing with fights is to breaking up fights. It's
Breaking up fights.
Yes. So being security actually was like my zen.
Really?
Yes. And then I was working with the Greek mafia at that point, just breaking up 10 on 10 brawls. But over time, as you get older, the abuse stopped when you got into college. You're able to deal with this. I mean, I'm very surprised I didn't get into serious trouble because of what happened to me as a child. So for me, I just got better at it, and I channeled the rage into Rometa too. And it was a channeling situation where I just said, and the rage was there in terms of my focus. So I think that I found an outlet for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe in channeling negative energy actually as well. I never got like physically abused like you did, but for me it was all verbal growing up.
Right. It was that too.
I got bullied and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was able to channel that,
Right.
what I mean? So I think people can do that.
And I think I did that here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what you built is, I got pages of all your, you call them rules or codes?
Oh, Rometa 2.0, but yeah, codes.
Codes of conduct.
Yeah, it's codes. I mean, I even had a dress code.
Yeah. I mean,
I didn't add that in there.
Yeah, you got a lot of codes. It must be hard finding people to abide by all these.
Well, one of the biggest parts was my recruiting and my covert testing. So like, it sounds like something out of CIA, but what I knew the qualities that I was looking for. So one of my best ways of recruiting people is I would watch you. Like at this point, I was very social. So I would go out every night of the week and I had circles of friends in every community. So you would see me out 5 nights a week, maybe drinking a beer or two, just to communicate, just to socialize. So, and I went to college there too. So I had my college friends, I had my fraternity friends, I had my friends from downtown Baltimore, I had friends from Towson, friends from White Marsh. I was going into different areas. And before all this, the club scene was building up, and eventually when I got into my position, I wasn't looking to recruit anybody, but I would try to find people that best suited my attributes. And I felt like, okay, one of the best people to get were the people like myself. They're not even trying to get into this.
Right. Shout out to today's sponsor, Quince. As the weather cools, I'm swapping in the pieces that actually gets the job done, that are warm, durable, and built to last. Quince delivers every time with wardrobe staples that'll carry you through the season. They have fall staples that you'll actually want to wear, like the 100% Mongolian cashmere for just $60. They also got classic fit denim and real leather and wool outerwear that looks sharp and holds up. By partnering directly with ethical factories and top artisans, Quince cuts out the middleman to deliver premium quality at half the cost of similar brands. They've really become a go-to across the board. You guys know how I love linen and how I've talked about it on previous episodes. I picked up some linen pants and they feel incredible. The quality is definitely noticeable compared to other brands. Layer up this fall with pieces that feel as good as they look. Go to quince.com/DSH for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. They're also available in Canada too.
Okay, and then I could hit them. They're looking at me. They see somebody successful. I'm obviously carrying myself well. My family is known to have money, so they think, wow, it's good to know maybe Brian. He can maybe help me with my career. So after maybe a year of testing them and getting to know them, and as they're really looking for their job search, I then go ahead and kind of covertly will bring them in.
Wow.
And some of them were kind of new about it. Like one of my best would be Brian, or we call him Reacher, because he looks just like the new character you see out there. And he was preparing to go pro, be a professional football player. That was his dream. And he was driving me around. He was great security, in case I had a problem, because Baltimore at that point was a very violent city. So I think part of my street fights was just an aspect of the city itself. And being a street fighter, knowing how cops dealt with violence in that city, my approach, and we'll get into this deeper later if you want to ask questions, but the mafia always says you can't have people or you can't communicate with the police. You hear that. Yeah. Well, you just brought on the son of a judge. Okay, that's your mistake. but ultimately, it worked to my benefit because it allowed me to dig in. I don't know any sport where you're not going to watch the playbook of the other team.
Right.
And that's exactly what I did. I want to know what the other team's up to. I want to find out what the priority lists for the police are. So I'm friends with police. So I'm digging in. And I dug into their priority lists, and it was very clear to me that if I were to get into a street fight or a bar fight, they don't care. They're like, our priority list, we're number one murder cities in the country. We're dealing with a heroin epidemic. We're dealing with horrific crime in the communities in the certain areas of Baltimore. That's our priority. So if you beat somebody in a club, they still go home or go to jail. That's their rule. Right. So I use that as an advantage. So if somebody happened to owe me money, which really rarely happened because of the way we enforce things, I could beat you up and not get in trouble.
Wow.
And have an audience to look at what happens to you if you don't pay us. So we utilize certain tactics like that were effective in our game plan.
Yeah, that's very smart, honestly, because if you know what your opponent's thinking, you can kind of get around it, right?
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, you could apply that to business too.
You can. Which I've done. I do still to this day. I'm still a legal strategist to this day.
I love that, man. I should have asked this earlier, but why'd you wait so long? Because you were living with this information for a while. So why'd you wait so long to start talking about it?
Okay, so a couple of things. Early 2002. I actually got out. 2001, 2002. I ended up coming back in. Okay. So I came back in and then, ultimately retired in around 2006. 2002, there's a situation where as I got into the game, and the other thing is I'm working at a law firm still while in this game. So I'm looking at Nexus, Lexus. It was before the internet where you get like a CD disc. You had to analyze the law, the case law, and see where Ecstasy is. So the first year or two was pretty much you're good. You're not going to get in trouble. I would talk to the police. What are you guys doing with people with ecstasy? They go, we don't really have case law in the books right now. Just go ahead and we make them, break it. We make them stomp it out in the ground in front of us, and that was it.
Like having weed.
That's how it was. But later on, they had a group that came in, or a task force. It was a group both local and Baltimore police and a DA forming together as a task force. Why they did that is because, Ecstasy had a huge boom during that period of time. I think it's starting to come out now about this boom. You're starting to see different documentaries about it. So anywhere from like around the late 90s to the early 2000s, all the local bars were shifting from bars to clubs. And it was a big movement, okay? So they saw that. And I think they really saw, you don't see too many people, or not anybody addicted to ecstasy, but what you do see is a lot of money coming in, okay? So they built this task force, and the task force were very dangerous people. They end up doing a series on HBO called We Own the City, okay? Well, the main characters you look at, they had a mentor. His name is Keith Gladstone. He was the one guy that taught them how to steal from all these drug lords. Me and him got into it. They raided one of my houses without a subpoena.
Wow.
My mom got wind of it. I called her up. We end up just paying them off. My mom is also, in many ways, it's hard to talk negative about your mom, but she is somewhat corrupt. That's just the makeup of that city. It just is what it is, and she knows it. It's in the past.
You got to get by,
she's
right?
retired, but she's just the way that she operates. She's the way she operates. That's all I'm going to say about it. But yeah, so he did that, but he would stay by paying him off. He found one of my stash houses. I had like 6 or 7 of them, and one of my mentors taught me always keep your eggs. Never keep your eggs in the same basket. So
Smart.
portion of them had all cash, portion of them had drugs, and being a student, I would use that to my advantage. So I always had students that would put different stash houses in their names, and then the drugs as well.
Yeah.
Even where I would move, which we get into, unpredictably as your ally, one of them that served as well, because I just move every 6 months. They never could keep up with me. But here's the point: Keith called me up. And he said, listen, we just intercepted a call, okay? And the deal I put together with him is he takes my money and he let me continue. It's the wildest story, and I'll maybe share it in a bit. But he sold my money. He allowed me to continue, but he didn't. He said, but we're really going to come after these guys. You might want to stay away from them. Well, I stayed away from them, and I just worked at this point, just shifted to the Persian Mafia and the Russian Mafia, which we can talk about later. But ultimately, working with them was a benefit. I ended up wanting to retire. He asked me, he goes, listen, when you finish your last exam, I'm going to hold off my team against you. But once you finish that exam, my team's going to want to come back at you and get you. So you better just stop when you take your final exam in college, because otherwise we're going to get you.
Wow.
You're full. So I stuck to that. I went out with a bang, which we could talk about in a second. Moved to New York, ran into a faction of the Gambino family. There was almost a bloodbath there. So I prompted me to go ahead and go to move to Los Angeles. So essentially when I got out, I was working with the Irish Mafia, a guy named Tom Dixon. Now, Tom Dixon and Vincent Magliano were the two people that were running Baltimore. They were what we call the Lords of Baltimore. They were the drug lords of Baltimore in the 80s and 90s, supplying a majority of the cocaine to even the most dangerous neighborhoods of Baltimore, powder cocaine. They were those sources. Vincent Magliano, we talked about there, that later was a son of Vincent Magliano Sr., who was a part of they call it the Baltimore Crew, and that was the Baltimore faction of the Gambino family, whose family worked with Nancy Pelosi's father, who was the mayor of Baltimore in the mid-40s, 1940s and 1950s. So he when I got out, I had my issues there. I got a phone call from Keith Gladstone when I was in LA. He goes, where are you? He goes, I go, I'm in Los Angeles. He goes, well, stay there. He goes, Tommy Dixon just got shot 6 times.
Whoa.
From the DeCavalcante family and the Gambino family of Staten Island. They just ordered a hit. He was testifying. We got Tommy. We're now building a case against those 2 families. I told you I was going to go get them. I did. They flipped Tommy, and Tommy was set to go ahead and testify. So they shot him 6, 7 times. That's part of the reason why they kind of made the character Tommy Egan from Power about Tommy Dixon. Okay, he lived, and he said that we intercepted a wire. They know you're not testifying against them, but they want to clean out house. There's a hit out for you right now.
Damn.
So that the mafia at that point was very relevant. Okay, in the early 2000s, a hit from them was serious. Would I consider them serious today? No. The only mafia I see that would be relative right now would be the Mexican mafia. Them today, not as much. They're much more under the radar. They do a lot more financial crimes. So that was part of it. So I kept my mouth shut for that. And also just didn't want to really talk too much about the people. In fact, I wanted to go into, and I did, being a legit entrepreneur. And a lot of times, a lot of this, I just want to keep quiet. Like, you don't want to tell a business person you're going, or an entrepreneur going in business, what you used to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It doesn't bring any relevance to going into a legit business.
Yeah.
But did I take those attributes and then, bring it into my business life? Absolutely. Now, later on, Keith Gladstone, again, these guys are thugs. Okay. I didn't even want to talk about him taking the money. It's just, even in a way, I would consider that ratting on Keith, even though he's a cop. But ultimately, he was exposed. Ultimately, just a couple of years ago, he went to jail.
Really?
Yeah. So
for that or something else?
For that, for stealing from drug dealers in Baltimore. So he came clean. And I'm sure he came clean with my story. You have to do that when you get busted. You have to open up and tell them all the crimes you committed. You get a plea deal, and he only got 2 years.
Wow.
So after that, which was just a few years, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, that 3, 4 maybe, that's when I started opening up, is right when Keith Gladstone got exposed on that series.
That makes sense. So you said they put a hit out on you and you had to lay low in LA?
Yeah. I mean, LA is a really good place to lay low. I still had to start implementing some of my strategies and just kind of move around a little bit, because you don't know if they're going to come and get you or not.
You don't know who to trust, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was a tough little situation. It keeps you paranoid for X amount of years. It really has a lot of strain on you. Yeah. When you get a call like that, because it's a serious call.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people get threats, but this is an absolute credible threat at that point.
Do you know who put the hit out on you?
Yeah. I mean, so basically those guys, Freddie Caruso, that was part of my issue with those guys. They were very much connected into Baltimore, and they lived there. And one of my core principles with Rometa 2.0 is operate as if you're always being wired.
Right.
So don't ever talk on the phone. So if I'm going to go, and it proves right here. So if I'm going to go ahead and have a meeting, I might call you, but we're going to have a sit down in a club downtown with a woofer right by our ear, so we could whisper into each other's ears, and nobody could hear anything at that point. So it keeps both of us accountable at that point. So I think Freddie was talking to one of his minions on the phone. When they went back to New Jersey and New York later on, they had me and Tommy taking over at one point. I wouldn't call them. I wouldn't talk to them on the phone. And when Tommy would want to meet with me, we meet in person. So they called one of their people, and they were like, we probably should go ahead and take out Sudter next. And but they end up going to court, and they all end up going to prison.
Damn. Did they get hit with a Rico?
I think most of them were drug cases.
Yeah.
It was they were finding tens of thousands of E, and then Tommy's Tommy got better. He lived, and his testimony, put the nail in the coffin for that.
Holy crap. That's nuts, man.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the feedback on the Matt Cox episode? That was sort of your breakout.
I wouldn't
interview,
even
right?
read it.
Oh, you didn't read it?
I don't watch feedback at all.
Why?
Because feedback is from the perspective of maybe a kid behind a computer.
Keyboard warrior,
they just don't understand the aspects. And there's a lot of information that I'd left out that's going to be in the book. So you're really going to have a perspective based on limited information. So I don't even bother to respond or look at it.
Yeah.
I think Joe Rogan said that was the best thing to do, and I find it to be best. So what I do know is that there's some of it went viral. I think one of the clips got maybe 600, 700,000 views. So, every time I do one of these, it gets a little easier, and I'm unleashing a little bit more information.
Yeah. Well, you were taught, never to speak out, so it must be uncomfortable for you.
It is. I mean, since then I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm a little bit used to talking to people. But yeah, I mean, I'm very coded in who I say, and especially the only people I really protect are my crew, because a lot of them have high level positions now. Yeah. And a lot of them attribute my training to where they are today. Wow. So you have to look at it. A good portion of them work for the Department of War now, the Department of DOD. Yeah. One of them works at Fort Meade. He works for NSA and DOD. Holy crap. So when I meet with him in Baltimore, I mess with them. I train. I go, what can you tell me? And he already learned from me, keep your mouth shut. So that's where he got that from.
Well, that shows your teachings work, man. That's cool. You were able to help these guys transition.
Yeah, one of the other guys, a high power attorney, Dave, is he's one of the guys. I'll give you his last name. He's big on Wall Street. But one of the guys, the main guy from NSA, he has a whole crew under him. They're all DOD people.
Holy crap.
Yeah, so a big crew of them ended up. Not one of them got in trouble.
That's insane.
Yes.
Oh, that's such a rare, and it's almost like a storybook ending for someone in your shoes.
Well,
right?
what did happen is when I retired, and just like everybody else, all the other big lords of Baltimore. So you had a crew, what we call the Lords of Baltimore. So you have Vincent Magliano at that period of time was the Lords of Baltimore focused on cocaine sales. Okay. But he was a Gambino, and I was just friends with him. I never worked with them. I was working with the Gambino faction that came in from Staten Island, a guy named Greg who got busted. Then he had a guy named Fred Caruso. His name I could put out there because he got in trouble. He was the contact for the DeCavalcante family. So Vincent, even though we were friends, I grew up with them. I knew them my whole life. That he was a prime example of the mafia not working. Okay, Tommy Dixon was in many ways more Cosa Nostra than Vinny. He would always take a meeting with a family member of the Gambino family. His name is Anthony Gambino, who owned a restaurant called Ciao Bella in Little Italy. So he would go meet with him every Saturday night just to get wisdom and a knowledge of the culture. And a lot of my knowledge I got from him. So my codes were a combination of my family upbringing, the legal thing. I'm always a strategist already. My Catholic upbringing. I just, the mafia members are supposed to be Catholic. I never saw that part of them, So, and then I also took a lot of their mistakes, like thou shalt not kill. Like it was very clear from the John Gotti era that killing was just a complete mess for them.
Oh yeah.
And I was not about to implement that. It's just not part of who I am anyway. And then you had other groups that came out. So you had a Persian family. So they had this one big artist named Shab. She's a Persian artist. You probably see her everywhere online. His brother, her brother is Scotty or Shariar, and he's allowed me to share this. And I'm still good friends with him today. The Persian Mafia was in a very incredible group. They were based out of DC. He was originally from Baltimore. That's how I knew him. And he was supplying the entire club scene of DC. So many members of the Persian community at that point were converting their restaurants into clubs and buying up clubs. They're very entrepreneurial. They're very good businessmen, gives business women, just business in general. They're incredible at. So the supply that we're able to do, and there's a lot of local colleges there, like University of Maryland's next door, et cetera. We were able to do a huge amount, and we worked together collectively. So when Scotty or Sharier was out, I would supply him. When I'm out, he would supply me. And then later on, I ended up mentoring a Russian. I saw a lot of, I just saw a lot in this guy, and that was part of my process. Was I was always willing to kind of take gold nuggets from different people and implement it from there. And then I would also take my time to take on people I felt would be good with us as well.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing about your stories. You worked with all different ethnicities. That didn't seem like you cared.
No, it didn't. I mean, it was just being with Tommy at one point, I was basically his underboss and consigliere. It was how they call it in the mafia world, because I'm working on his behalf. He had never had a guy like me work with him. And a lot of my things my principles he liked. Like one of my principles I put in here is never take a handout.
Right.
And he was floored by that. So like if you're in like a mafia situation, you're always offered free stuff.
Yeah.
But then if you feel kind of binded by that, you're going to take advantage of that at a later point.
Like you owe them.
Yeah, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to have anything to do with it. And even in him, when he would go out to, say, a big club, everybody knew he was the kingpin. Everybody knew he had unlimited money.
Right.
So everybody would be drinking on his bottle, on his tab. So I would refuse. He always see me go and pay. He's like, you're the only one who would do that. That you understand how big that is for me, and immediately at that point we were inseparable. Wow. And then over time I was with his crew and I was his right guy, and all his guys were more like real thuggish, scary thuggish, and I'm like the well-spoken guy is right under him. So we would go to clubs. They have this big group of guys sitting there, and they just move away, and we walk right in.
Just like the movies.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they was moving. I go in the back, and that's where we could talk. And then slowly, I brought my crew in, and we would be with both crews with him.
That is nuts. So did part of you like that attention, where you just walked in anywhere?
I would say I started getting addicted to the streets. Okay, I would call it just going out. I remember going out to my mom had a big party. She was well known. She was kind of a socialite in Baltimore. She always knew. She was like even on, they were launching a TV show with her and Oprah many years ago.
Yeah.
So always in the media. So she was like, even though she was a judge, she was able to do both, which is a master of the court where you could be a judge and still do your high profile cases.
Yeah.
So she's constantly in the media. And I remember like NBC producer there, mayor's there, everybody's there. Okay. Everybody's keeping me at the party. Brian, stay, let's do this, whatever, pictures. And I'm like, I can't wait to leave because the streets are calling me. Like it was just like, it was a push. It was a something about it that just I thrived on.
Yeah.
Did I thrive on the attention? I really didn't want the attention. I tried everything I could for people not to know, keep on the DL. So I'm not out there telling everybody anything or wearing flashy clothes or driving a fancy car. I am, but people get to know who you are because of who you associate with. But did I like the culture then? I would say yes. Did I like the discipline? I really do think I did very well working under those conditions. And what I mean by that is if I make one mistake, okay, I know that could be murdered. Not by the Gambino family of Staten Island, but by the Cavalcante family. That's why when they talk about and show it, portray it as the Sopranos, the guy I dealt with was serious. No joke.
He wasn't Tony.
No. Well, it wasn't. These guys don't mess around. So I've thrived on that. And all it did is push me to implement these codes better. All it did is further protected us and made me go, put this together. And that's why, of course, you can't use drugs. You got to be on point every step of the way.
100%.
Yeah.
So you liked the pressure.
I loved it.
Yeah. Some people thrive under it.
I excelled.
It's interesting how some people just fold under pressure, but
it was just like
guys like you love it.
How much can we make this better?
Yeah. It's so interesting what goes into
and the
that.
force I had on people were, you're going to pay me, because at all of the beginning period, everything was fronted. Then I started putting my own money out there. I still had to let people know, make the facade that this money still belonged to the mafia. You had a certain level of strength behind you when you're working for murderers.
Right.
They knew that. So that helped as well. So yeah, I liked that. And once in a blue moon, I make an honest mistake.
Oh, so you did make some.
Of course, I'm human.
And what was were there any that were massive and you felt like this could be it for you?
Yeah. One of them, I thought I could be murdered at that point. Yeah.
That's nuts.
There was one point where I don't know if I can't tell the story.
No, we'll leave it there. But the fact that happened is still pretty crazy.
Because I was there for something very scary, and I just can leave it at that. Yeah. Okay. I gotta talk to my attorney before I talk to that. Okay.
But you walked in that room and you were like, this could be it.
It could be it. It was a mistake, and it was a situation that could have turned on me real quick.
Damn, that's nuts. Yep. And I'm sure you saw a lot of those meetings where that
I only
happened.
had one of those.
Oh yeah? No, I meant for other people, but yeah.
I part of my strategy was eliminate my communication with the mafia as well. And they would actually respect that further. Let me give you an example. They would go, Brian, you are invited with us to go to the Jersey Shore. Why aren't you joining us? And I would always respectfully decline because I felt like I'm never going to allow them to see this personal side of Brian.
So you kept it separate.
I wanted it completely separate. And then when you get into that, it opens up playful talk, laughing, communicating, joking. And if you really look at my crew, I didn't laugh or joke with anybody.
Wow.
There's none of that. If you have a breakup with your girlfriend, I don't want to hear about it. Like, what are you talking about? I'm gonna be so upset with you. One of my guys, let me give you examples. This one guy, Mike Joya. Okay, I can tell you his name. He wanted to be mentored by me. He knew who I was. He's connected. If you look at Frank Joya, who's I forgot what family he's from. I think he's a distant relative of him. He ended up having to move to Baltimore. He had a really messed up father. He had Mafia in his veins. He's got it even his last name. Okay. He wanted me to go ahead and mentor him. Okay. I go, I could turn you into Rambo. Okay. You have so much bigger genetics than me. When I was younger, I was training all the time, a lot bigger than I am right now. Okay. So I took him under my wing and took him under my umbrella and allow him to be somebody as a protector. You want to have muscle in case anything goes off. Right. And there's people you could gauge where they're going to thrive with you or they're going to be muscle with you. And these big muscle guys want to be part of your crew always. Yeah. So, and I helped him out, got him big, got him muscular, got him transformed his life. And then he kept on hitting me up and he goes, Brian, I'm Italian. Why haven't you not brought me in? I should be in. Brian, Mike, you meet the perfect criteria for the Italian mafia but you don't meet the criteria for my group. Okay. I go, the first thing you did messed up is right when I brought you in, you hit on my girlfriend. How can I trust you with that?
Right.
Okay. Other thing you did is you cried. I was such an asshole. Remember I told you I went through a lot of trauma.
No.
Okay. So I was a different person there. I was almost emotionless back then, which worked as an advantage to me. Like we talked about, I channeled that rage. So when you show weakness like that, I don't want that in my platform. I don't want a comment. I don't want that. It's something my mom taught me. She's like, never let people see you bleed. And that held on to that. So I would take different nuggets from people, even my family, and hold on to that. So I told him, you're never going to. I go, the mafia might take you on, but I'm not. So yeah, so my point behind that is I didn't want to get personal. And in fact, I didn't want, I was very familiar with Rico. I didn't want, when they brought me into their other rackets to see if I wanted to go into, I declined. I felt that was really good at selling ecstasy. I wanted to perfect that craft, and that's where I kept it, and allow me to stay out of the other games. So if you're going to come after somebody, you know, for a bet, okay, you're just kind of getting them, you're going to beat them up, whatever, for money they may or may not have. That didn't really sit well with me. What did sit well with me is let's profit share with a team of drug dealers and all make money together. That's my philosophy.
You treated it like a business.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wow, the no crying thing is very interesting. No emotions. You were very cutthroat, it sounds like.
Yeah, I had to be, because again, it goes back to what I said. I took this position that my life, or you know, very least my safety or my my freedom will be taken from me.
Yeah.
You know?
Did you feel like you were living two lives, two different lives?
In a way, yes. And it was interesting because it allowed me to live two lives. So let me explain. When I had my college group, and the college setting allowed me to set the group. What's good about Towson University is where I went. My students, okay, we all look younger.
Yeah.
So if you're a Fed, you go on my campus, we all still look like we're still look like we're growing, you know, in puberty when you're in your 20s. And if you're a Fed going on our campus, we're going to look at you like, what are you doing here? Okay, that's number one. Number two, it allowed me to put different my drugs in different stash houses, in different, you know, storage facilities, in different students' names. These students don't talk to street people in Baltimore.
Right.
They are in their social realms. My fraternity doesn't talk to anybody but fraternity people. Okay, so I could do that, pay them some money. They're completely fine with that. The other great benefit of being a student during this period of time, and I prolong my student activities, is because we can move. Like one of my mentors said, dude, you have to move every 3 to 6 months. Okay. This is kind of pre-internet, but you move every 3 to 6 months, they can't keep up with you. And when you have students, you just have all the bills in one of the students' names that's completely removed from that. So you go, boom. So every semester you can move. Every semester, boom, 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 boom. So I use the student variable for that. Even phones. So I would constantly buy phones for students and buy myself one in their name. Boom, another phone, break it. Even though I wasn't talking on the phone, there are emergency calls you got to take at certain points. And then boom, you got to go meet with them. Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to do everything I can to mitigate phone calls. And then I think the next step we should get into is the spirituality of criminality.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that. People don't associate the two together.
No. So you know, what I did is I implemented, you know, certain, you know, elements of the 10 Commandments. You know, I grew up Catholic.
Yeah.
I started losing my way with God when I got older, but you know, if I looked at thieves as the worst of the worst, because if you're going to steal from me, you're my enemy. So anything with thievery and dishonesty like that, I hated it. You can't lie to me, you know, unless there's a greater good for people who really aren't meant to hear this. Kill, we talked about, thou shalt not kill. This goes back into, you know, not bear false witness. I just equate that to don't gossip. I don't want to hear anything that's not business related.
Right.
Okay. You know, thou shalt not be jealous, you know, and just be grateful. One of the things I remember, and when I first got into it, one of my mentors brought me on. He's like, what are you thinking right now? I go, you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking that the money I made just now can pay for, I'm grateful I can pay for my cell phone bill. I can pay for rent. That's where I'm at right now. So I was implementing, you know, laws of the universe without even knowing it at that point. So really it goes against, just be grateful, you know, and we kind of kept that mentality. And also, Rometa says, don't cheat on a made man's wife. Dude, just find a good woman and stick by her. Because if you're out there hooking up with other girls, that mess is going to catch up to you.
It's a liability, right?
It's an absolute liability.
You see all the guys that get canceled for that down the road.
Yeah, you don't do it. Just get a good girl. So it's not even a thought of cheating on somebody. You're just with a good girl, and that's where your eyes stay, and that's that.
Yeah, I sleep so well at night, you know.
And then the benefits of this is you'll find that all of a sudden somebody gets busted, get a call right at the perfect moment. And you can't question that. At first, I'm thinking, wow, I must be pretty connected in this city. But the saves were like boom, boom,
yeah,
boom,
they were ready
every time.
Yeah, they kind of keep it
I
as
would
ammo.
get a call, and I would get more. Then I get the call with the drug dealer trying to set me up. I'm like, hey, I heard what happened. What am I doing? I'm just studying. I've been focused on school. I'm sorry what happened. Goodbye. You know, that was basically it. But and then later on, that's what made me get more stern and limit the people that I would associate with.
Yeah.
Like, give an example. Somebody came up to me I didn't know, and started asking me questions. I'd give you a dead stare. Like, were you crazy? Asking me in a club? Like, I would never sell drugs in a club. All my deals were very well orchestrated, you know, during daylight hours at a location that me and the other person knows. That's it.
Yeah.
So a club and selling drugs at a club, you're out of your mind.
That's a huge liability.
Big time.
Yeah. Did any of the setup attempts work? Did anyone ever get you?
The only thing that happened was I did get the call, okay, with Gladstone, so I was already prepared.
Yeah.
So when they came in, the first thing I go, where's your warrant? I know you don't have a warrant. And they went off on me. They almost beat me up on that alone. And they had guns on us, and they're like, and then I had everything. I was a business major, so I had everything hidden in my accounting homework.
Yeah.
So they couldn't find anything.
That's so smart.
It was like everything was widgets, you
That's
know?
so smart.
Yeah. So they couldn't find anything, and there's not going to be anything in my home.
Yeah.
I don't do drugs. You're not going to find anything. They found one storage locker that I should have I didn't code it in my accounting yet. And they found it. They found that stash of cash.
Damn.
But for me, I'm operating on a federal level. Okay. Most of local cops, they're not coming for me. These guys are feds.
No.
So what am I worried about? Everybody says Rico. Well, Rico for drug lords is conspiracy. So my concern, there's some other things they could give you for the kingpin one too as well. But conspiracy, all you need is a couple people to testify against you.
That's it?
So I knew, yes, that's all they need.
Wow.
So I knew they had some people that could be testifying, but they're mostly on the state level. When I was selling hundreds at that point, I got my way when I was selling upwards to 50,000 at a time. So, you know, upwards more than that at certain times. So I was very concerned about a case. And that's why I really operated knowing that this industry had an expiration date. And then the people I brought on, I brought them on because I knew they were looking for a job. I knew they graduated from college. I said, this is a great opportunity to get some skills, make some money, and progress with your life.
Right.
And that was the whole goal. And when I took my last exam and wanted to graduate from the industry, I did. But then I came back later on, which if you want, we could get into later.
Yeah. So you were always thinking pretty long term though with this.
Well, not necessarily. I was thinking long term because I was thinking get in, get out. Okay. Yeah. Me getting back in was, I'll tell you this story. So one of my top guys I told you, we call him Reacher. Okay. He ended up not going pro. He ended up making a lot of money. He met a girl out in Indiana, and he opened up the outlet for me to now supply Indiana. Okay. So now at this point, supplying Maryland, I'm supplying Virginia, DC, and now we have Indiana. Okay. By the time I take that final exam, it was early 2000. It was the summer. I had to take a final summer exam or a class and exam in summer, and then I was going to move to New York and become a stockbroker. Okay. So I went ahead and got it ready, packed everything up, got my place out in New York downtown. Had to do one last load, and I'm looking at the TV. And right before that, actually, I decided to go out with a bang. So one of the guys I mentored was a guy named Mikkel. He was a Russian. Okay, instead of bringing him into my crew, I looked at him and his crew, and I go, you know what, Mikkel? You know what a lot of Marylanders are? You know what they are? They're scared of Russians. I go, let's create a Russian mafia under you. I go, it'll work. I go, your crew, they're all Jewish. They had like a Jewish upbringing, but they weren't just from, Russia. They were from Belarus. They're from, Ukraine, all the local, territories. So I went ahead and implemented that with him. So essentially, I created the Russian Mafia of Baltimore by mentoring him,
Wow.
and it worked. And they were all Jewish, and when things went down, I was supplying him. Then he started supplying me.
Mm.
So when Gladstone came in, I couldn't work with the Gambinos. I couldn't work with the DeCavalcantes. I couldn't work with the Irish. I don't work with the Gambinos of Baltimore, but I can continue to work with the Persian Mafia who could supply me. And then now the Russians, I go, listen, I can't supply you anymore. They go, listen, we have plugs in. If you really know the industry at that point, is very much handled by both Jews and Israelis, and Israeli Jews.
Mm.
They
ran it.
They ran it entirely.
Wow.
So they go, we're Jewish. We have contacts in California. We could supply you. And they did. So when I took my final exam, and what Gladstone stole was about $400,000 from me, I wanted to get out and just and I stole like 50,000 pills from Russian Mike. I go, listen, I'll be right back. Kept the pills. Okay. So when I did that, I went to New York. I figured, okay, now I'm gonna start legit. No more drug money. I'm done. Okay. Then I had my big issues with the Gambino family in a club called Sound Factory. It was a big kind of club with the music. The DJs at that point were Jonathan Peters. It was really heavy club. So even though I didn't party, I was still very driven into the music and the club scene.
Mm.
It was a big part of what I like to do.
Yeah.
I would go out sober, but I loved the music. So I would go there. I ran into the Gambino faction, big fight. I left. I go to LA with Reacher, and Reacher's still supplying the Indiana. Mm-hmm. I go, what'd you do? He's like, I met the head of Israeli Mafia. I go, somebody like you would do that. He goes, well, listen, I want to bring you in and introduce you to him. I'm making tons right now with Indiana. And I said no for almost a year. And then all my crew came back. They were like, come on, Brian, the demand is huge. We could do this. All the other Lords of Baltimore ended up getting him. They were implementing these codes. So Shahryar of the Persians, he ends up going to prison. Russian Mikel, he ends up getting in prison too. They all got Vincent Magliano always ends up going to prison. Tommy Dixon is testifying against the DeCavalcante, remember?
Yeah.
He's the one who got shot.
Yep.
All the Lords are down. So then I bring in my crew to replace them. And I end up being their supplier. I end up meeting the head of Israeli Mafia. And I said, listen, you guys are going to take over.
Wow.
So they did take over. But what I realized is that not just implementing my codes is part of it. You got to be like a drill sergeant on them. So with my lack of presence, they're doing well. But it's just a matter of time before they made a mistake.
And that's what happened.
They made a small mistake. They got busted, but they didn't catch drugs. But it was enough of a scare for me to shut everything down.
They got cash again, or
I think so. They shot one of their dogs. It was a mess.
Shit.
One of their friends ended up getting in trouble that we know of. They didn't. I don't know the whole story. They weren't my specific guys. They were 2 levels below me. Mm-hmm. These are the crew that now work for the DOD. My direct crew did not. So Will was their guy. He never did. Brian never did. Reacher, Dave, and then one more. So those guys never did my direct crew. But these guys were trained by Will.
Got it.
Okay. And that was enough close call to Will to be like, no, we're done.
So you called it there.
Yeah, and that was around 2006. So I had to run from 2002 to 2006.
I wonder what the game's like these days.
It's nothing compared to what it was then. It's still relevant, but you just have to remember it was a big movement then.
Yeah. Yeah, now I feel like I don't know what the hot thing is, but Ecstasy I don't hear too much
You probably
about.
don't. It was just there was a movement then, and that's why it became very profitable then.
Yeah. You think the cartels are running the game now, though, for drugs?
I mean, you have to what drug? Right now it's fentanyl. Except like cocaine, that's still always going to be relevant. I think that's a drug that's not going to go anywhere. But I think that there's some. I try to stay away from the media, but some ugly stuff that happens right now, that I've heard in Mexico. Did you hear this in the media or not?
Mexico. Yeah.
So I think that Trump policy may or may not be relevant and helping, and the cartel may have some difficulty bringing their products in here.
Oh, okay.
And there were some credible threats I heard to U.S. citizens that travel to Mexico.
Oh, I think I did see this. Yeah, my friend had a trip planned to Cabo, and he canceled the whole thing because there's some bounties on Americans or something.
That's it. Yeah.
Crazy, man.
That's right.
That is nuts. I got to ask this because you've worked with so many different types of mafias. Which one was the toughest to work with, and which one did you enjoy the most?
Okay, I'm going to answer it this way. The weakest one, I would think, the one that I would say that the one that threw me off and disappointed me the most was the Israeli Mafia, the
Really?
a specific one. But then I met other groups that I'm like, whoa, okay. With this specific member, he kept on trying to press me to break my rules, and I didn't like it. Let's go to Burning Man. I'm like, are you out of your mind? The harshest one, the one I respected most, was the Cavalcante family. That's why I tell you, when I look at The Sopranos, it upsets me because my affiliation with that crime family was nothing but highest respect for them. One I enjoyed the work the most with, I would say the Persian Mafia Shariar was the funnest, because the Persians had the deepest pockets. So we go to DC, and I'm in the most luxurious club, going into a back room. We all had the room to ourselves. One of his friend owns the entire club. We're treated like royalty in DC. So they were certainly the funnest, was the Persian Mafia.
I need to watch some.
That's the thing. You'll never hear about the Persian Mafia.
Oh, really?
No, they were so DL.
Damn.
Yes,
That sucks.
they're very good at that.
Yeah. All right, we got 5 more minutes. Did we get through pretty much everything you wanted to?
I guess if you see some of the questions I asked, if you want to ask, go for it. I don't know what else.
What was your? I think we got through.
I think we got through most of it.
Yeah, we crushed it. I guess, do you have a book, ETA on the book, or you're still writing it?
I'm taking my time. I had to do it with attorneys as well. I'm unpacking a lot of very personal information, and I'm very kind of firm with my ghostwriter as well. So I'm not trying to do it for money.
Yeah.
In fact, I might even write a couple different versions, see which one will go, and then after that, we're going to write scripts.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Probably within a year, could be a year and a half.
Well, Brian, thanks for your time, man. This was great. You want to link your Instagram in the video?
Not really.
You want to stay low key? That's the way to do it, man. All right. Well, we'll link something for you. We'll
I appreciate that.
Check the description out, guys.
It.
See ya.
All right. Thank you.
Wherever you guys are watching this show, I would truly appreciate it if you follow or subscribe. It helps a lot with the algorithm. It helps us get bigger and better guests, and it helps us grow the team. Truly means a lot. Thank you guys for supporting, and here's the episode.